What's up you guys, welcome back and welcome if you're new. In today's video we're going to be installing the brand new KC fog lights onto my Tacoma. Cool thing about this fog light specifically, it goes for almost any vehicle. So if you guys are curious on this, if it fits your car, make sure to check out the description box below. In today's video what we're going to be doing is we're going to be unboxing it, showing you what comes inside, and then after that at nighttime we'll go ahead and show you guys some clips. That way you guys see how bright these things are. Let's get into the video and we'll show you guys. We're going to kind of start off what comes inside the box, and then we're going to talk about the lights, kind of like on all the specs and stuff like that. So inside the box, right when you open it, I've kind of laid everything out. So depending on what kind of truck you have or anything like that, KC does provide bezels. So as far as for me, I ordered them for the one with the aftermarket bezel, which will still fit kind of like a stock Tacoma, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to come with these pieces here. You guys will see what those do. And then a cool thing about KC, they also provide these lenses here. So if you guys don't want like a white beam or anything like that, you guys can go ahead and put these bad boys on. For me, I'm going to be installing them, so you guys will see me change them out in this video. Next thing it's going to come with is going to be a wiring harness. Cool thing about this is that's what's going to help out with the dual mode feature, which I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute. And then it's also going to come with these connectors here. These are basically going to be kind of like T connectors. So one is going to go connected into the brand new fog light. The other section is going to go connected into your stock wiring harness of your Tacoma or vehicle that you have. And then right here is where the wiring harness is going to be connected for that dual mode feature. Coming back over here with the fog lights, like I said, these do have dual mode features. So what that means is you can go ahead and have them for off-road or on-road use as well. You can have them on and it's basically street legal. That would be about, as far as raw lumens, it would be 3,682 lumens for the fog. And now if you guys do put it in the dual mode feature, it goes up to 5,949 lumens. So we're going to show you guys later in the video at nighttime to see how these things really are. It's nice having a dual mode feature like that because that way you won't have to keep adding a bunch of lights. You have everything built into one. You can check out the description box below to see if yours applies. I'll leave a link there. So let's just dive right into it. We're going to go ahead and start by disassembling this and putting the brand new lenses. So if you guys are going to be removing the bezels, you don't need to, but as you can tell, I'm going to be installing the ones that they provide only because I don't want white. My ditch lights from KC, the Flex R4s, those are already white, so I want to change it up a little bit. So noticing right here, you're going to have 3 screws. You want to go ahead and get an Allen key and remove those. When you guys are changing these out, if you guys are going to, just make sure you're doing it maybe inside in a controlled room, just so that way dust does not get inside the lenses or anything like that. I also want to let you guys know, the first time that you go to remove these, they may be a little bit tough. Only reason why is because they put Loctite from the factory, so those little screws are kind of hard to get out at first. You have to crack them open and then let go. So you're going to notice this releases. Just remember how you put it on. And then you're going to have this gold piece, same thing. And then here is going to be your lens. You don't need to put a new gasket if these things are brand new. So I'm going to go ahead and leave mine in just because I've never used these. I'd rather save the gasket that comes provided to go ahead and maybe down the road I need to switch it out or something like that. But if you guys have used your lights already and then you go to switch these out, you want to put a brand new gasket just so that way you make sure it seals properly. And then just put it how it's supposed to go. Match up the holes, just like that. Reinstall all the bezels. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe you can buy new bezels, this gold ring that goes around from KC, just to kind of give it your own flavor as far as color. For me, I'm fine with that color. So there it is. So this is basically going to be the before that it comes with, and this is going to be the after. This is going to be a nice touch for off-road use. Reason I switched mine is because this color tends to be a little bit better when you guys are off-road, going through like any type of debris, say like a sandstorm, or you're just going with a bunch of buddies that there's a lot of dust going around. This will help you out, especially at night. Another cool thing, it cuts a lot better through fog. It cuts better through like snowstorms or just anything like that where you actually need to use lights. It'll cut a lot better than having white light. Usually white light tends to kind of bounce back and then it'll just blind you. So now we're going to get ready to actually install it onto the truck. We're going to start putting the bezels. We're going to start off with the circular one. So if yours does come with this one, I believe this is for the Toyota OEM bumper style. But on my CBI off-road bumper that I do have, it also has that same style as the stock bumper. And you're going to notice one end has like a clip side to it and the other end is nice and flat. So go ahead and match it up with your fog. If you need to kind of spin it around until you find the actual groove. And it should just pop in. Just kind of give it some firm pressure until it clicks in to the grooves, as you guys can see. And that's basically done. Do the same thing to the other side. So now by doing this, it makes it, at least for the Tacomas, how the bumpers are circular. And like I said, on the CBI off-road bumper, the fog light section is also circular. This just makes it look more factory versus having like a triangle light in there. So the first thing you're going to need to do is get a size 17mm socket or a wrench or anything like that. Go ahead and remove the nut and the washer that's installed. So you're going to notice, of course, you have that bolt. It's going to be kind of like installing ditch lights. It may be different for your application only because I do have an aftermarket bumper. This is the setup that I chose when I selected it on their website. But I believe on their website specifically, you can go ahead and get the bezel that is for maybe the stock Tacoma bumper, or like I had said, whatever car you have. That's the cool thing about KC is they provide all that. So we're gonna go ahead and install this. So if you look inside right here, you're gonna notice there's like this tab here. So that's basically where the KC bolt is gonna go through. So I'm gonna go ahead and sit it down. So once you have it in the hole, one thing I did want to let you know that I noticed, at least on the CBI off-road bumper, the bolt from the KC is slightly big. So I did have to drill out a little bit just so the hole's a little wider, as you can tell. So now what you do is, of course, you put the washer on that bolt and then you go ahead and put the nut that you had taken off onto that bolt as well. And then you grab your 17mm wrench, socket, whatever you're using, and tighten it down. So now that you see I bolted it down, up next you want to go ahead and grab the stock wiring harness from the Tacoma. And then you also want to grab the harness that came with the KC light. As you can see, it's right here. We're going to go ahead and now install the T connector that goes here. Let me grab that and show you guys. When you guys do grab the T connector, you're going to notice, of course, there's two. So there's two gray ones. So one is going to have like this green insert. One is going to look like this. It's going to be another black connected into the stock fog light wiring harness. You're going to notice on the stock fog light wiring harness on one end, it has like a lip here, which that's where there's like a tab that usually goes there. So we're going to be putting this tab here into it. So let's connect that right now. Make sure it clicks into place. Now up next, going back to the gray connectors, the one with the green, you want to grab that next. And noticing right here, this black one here, you're going to be able to tell it has like a pattern to it. And they're both triangle. So you want to match it up and clip them in together. Same thing, make sure it clips in all the way. That way no water, debris, or anything gets in there. Make sure it clips. Once it does, give it a little tug, make sure it's good. And now you're going to notice you have one T connector. You're going to have one gray connection left over. So this here is going to be for our wiring harness that does come provided. That's going to be for our actual dual mode function. So that way we get the full use out of them. If you don't want to use that, go ahead and tape this up, leave it there. But I mean, if you paid this much money for these bad boys, get your best use out of them. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the driver's side right now as far as installing the harness and the fog light, and then we'll get back to this harness part that came with KC's kit. Now that we have both fog lights installed, the T connectors are connected and everything like that, the last thing we have to do is install the wiring harness that does come provided by KC. Like I said, if you don't want to do this step, you can skip it and they should still work if I'm not mistaken. If you paid this much money, why aren't you going to use the whole thing, right? So let's go ahead and keep going from here. So noticing right here, it is going to have a on and off switch. So this is basically going to be the on and off switch that's going to go inside your cab, and this is what's going to control the dual mode to give you the most amount of lumens out of this KC light. So for me, I'm not going to have to run this button only because I do have a switch panel onto my truck. It's going to be a little bit easier, but I'll still explain it to you guys as far as what to do. They also provide some zip ties with you inside this harness, so that way if you want to go ahead and zip tie this harness out of the way, you can. I'm going to show you guys why. Let's step right over here. So if you notice this gray connector here, this is coming off of the T connector from the fog light. All I did was pull it up from the bottom and I brought it up right here just to make my life a little bit easier as far as installing this harness. What we're going to do with this harness here is we're going to open it up. We've opened up the wiring harness. So what you want to do here is I'm going to put this gray connector down just for now so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. So coming back outside the truck, you're going to notice I've untangled the wiring harness. If you guys have ever installed ditch lights or anything like that, it's the same exact step. There's nothing different to it besides it having a fog light feature. So we have the connector here, of course. You're going to notice one of the orange connectors is going to have a longer end to it and the other one's going to have a shorter end. So what you want to do here is you want to put the longer end away from wherever your battery source is going to be. As far as for me, my battery is on the driver's side on this Tacoma. So the shorter end I'm going to put on that side, and I'll explain to you guys why right now. So grabbing the long end, let's go back inside the truck where that gray connector is. So here is the gray connector coming off of the fog light. We're going to go ahead and now connect this orange one, and it only goes in one way and it should clip in. So make sure you guys listen for the click to make sure you plugged it in correctly. So as you can tell, I've brought the wire from the passenger side. I just kind of put it underneath the grill. So here it is. So now grabbing the shorter end of the plug from the wiring harness, looking down here, I've also grabbed the gray harness that's connected to the fog light. I brought it up, and now we're going to connect these. And same thing, they only go in one way, and you want to make sure they click into place. Now that we got both fog lights connected, it does come with zip ties. So if you want to kind of zip tie everything in the back of the grill, just so it looks nice and clean, you don't have wires hanging. Up next, what you do is grab the rest of the wiring harness, and you guys will see what we're going to be doing with this. If you look right here inside, right behind the headlight, there's some space to feed this wiring through. I'd suggest you feed it through. So bring all of it back out on this side. Make sure you're not tearing any wires while doing this process. If you're in this step now, what you're going to notice, we'll start with this end right here, which is closest to the fog light harness. So I'm going to put the fog light harness down here just to make things easier. So this end here with the black and the red is what's connected to both of the fog lights. So noticing here, there's a black wire that comes out with a terminal, and then on the other end of it there's a red one going into this sheathing here, and then there's a yellow one that has a fuse with another terminal. So if you're going to use the whole wiring harness that does come provided, and what I mean by the whole thing is if you're going to be connecting the switch inside the cab, the one that comes provided, the on and off, you're going to have to follow this step. So the black one, you'd connect it to either the ground of your battery or ground it off somewhere on the car. The yellow one is technically your power source, which is your positive, so you connect it to the positive of the battery. So as an example, say you connected, just as an example, so we connected to the right there, and then this one would go connected to the positive. So if you did that, then what you'd have left over are going to be these wires here. So what you would do with these three wires here, which is the yellow, black, and the red, you're going to notice they have kind of like a speaker terminal connector, you could say. These ones, you tape them off. I'd recommend get maybe like a metal clothes hanger or something like that. Tape it also. What you're going to do is if you look back here, It's going to be kind of hard to see it on the camera, but in person you can see it. Back here towards where my finger is at the bottom, there is a rubber grommet. Get like a little razor blade, give it a quick little small slice, and then you'd grab your clothes hanger and the wires, feed them all the way through. You'd go inside the cab, and basically wherever you're going to be putting that little on and off switch, that's where you want to put it. So that's what this is for. But like I said, for me, I have a switch panel, so I don't need this, and I don't need this black and yellow terminal connector. So what I'm going to be doing, and like I said, this is only if you have a switch panel, I'm going to be cutting it right here, both the black and the red. Let me show you guys what I mean. I'm going to be literally cutting it. So I'm going to be literally cutting it and then cutting it. So now this right here, as I told you guys earlier, this is what's coming off of the passenger and driver side fog light. So keep that in mind. This is only if you have a switch panel. So I've cut it there, and then you're going to see here, all this to me now, this leftover wiring, this is all junk to me now. So for me, I can toss this. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of this button. You don't want to go ahead and feed it underneath as much as you can, and then basically you'll connect it to your switch panel wherever, of course, you want to have the switch for it. So as far as for me, I'm going to go ahead and figure this out right now. I got a lot of lights installed, so I need to figure out where I'm going to be placing this. But basically the red one would go to your positive of the switch panel, and the black one would go to the negative of the switch panel. So once I connect this, we'll go ahead and turn them on, test them out, show you guys the dual features, and then we'll move on to the night clips and show you guys that as well. All right, you guys, so as you can tell, now it's installed. It's aesthetically pleasing, and like I said, if you guys do have a stock factory bumper, it'll still work for yours. For me, of course, I have the CBI off-road bumper, but it still looks awesome. So right now I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. I know it's not nighttime, so that's going to be the fog lights. And then cool thing about this is you can turn off the fog lights, and then you can also turn on the beam. So that one right there is with the switch. And once again, I'll turn off the spot. Those are just the regular fogs. I'll turn off the fogs. There it is. Let me turn on the spot. Let me turn off the spot, turn on the fogs, and now let me turn on the spots, so fogs and spots will be on. So as you can tell, it's a dual mode purpose. It gives a lot of lumens. Let's go ahead and cue to the night clips. So now it is nighttime, so right now we're going to go ahead and test it out, so that way you guys can kind of see it on the camera. Of course, the camera is not going to grasp exactly how they look in person. I did want to let you guys know, these are of course street legal, so you got to keep that in mind as far as what Casey kind of designed them for. If you guys do want something crazy bright, of course you got to go with their off-road versions. The cool thing about with this one specifically, like I told you guys in the beginning, it does have that dual mode purpose. So you're going to have the on-road and off-road mode. So that's freaking awesome. For the on-road mode, the cool thing about that is it's going to be the top two of the lights. So if you guys do remember when we were installing them, the light is kind of like a triangle, and it has two lights on the top and one light in the middle at the bottom. So the two top lights are going to be your fog light for the street driving. So when you turn those on, that's what turns on. Now whenever you do go off-road and you want to turn it on to get a little bit more brightness out of it, you go ahead and turn on your dual mode, and what that does is it'll turn on that bottom light, and then at that point all three lights are on. So that'll help of course with the brightness off-road. Another thing I did want to let you guys know, a reason I changed the lens to like the amber colored one was so that way whenever there is fog or when it's raining really bad, or if I'm in snow or anything like that, that would actually allow it to cut through more instead of the white ones or a crazy bright light down there that's going to end up blinding me in my eyes, and then I can't see anything. Another cool thing that Casey designed, which when we get back home I'll show you guys with the garage, but they actually made it like a straight cut through fog light. That way it doesn't blind people in front of you or coming towards you. So it's literally a street legal fog light. So it has that nice cutout beam, which you guys will see later in the video. So let's go ahead and now just show you guys. So right now we're going to go ahead and do the on-road testing. So let me go ahead and turn on just the fog lights. So there they are. So as you guys can tell, the beam on it, it's there. but it's not going to be a crazy bright like your headlights, of course. Like I had said, they designed it with a cutout up top, so that way it doesn't blind oncoming drivers. And it's also nice because when you guys are, like I said, for fog or rain or anything like that, you don't want nothing super bright, because that's when the light kind of bounces back on the fog and ends up blinding you. So they did it to a percentage where if it's foggy, raining, anything like that, it's not going to bounce back and it's still going to cut through very well. They've tested these and everything like that, and they're known to work. So now we're just in a little dirt patch near my house. I just wanted to show you guys how it looks. So as you can tell, I mean, this is just with the fog light normal mode on, but this is how it would look when you guys are on the dirt. So right now what I'm going to go ahead and do is, now we're going to go ahead and test out the dual mode. So let's go ahead and do that now. Unfortunately, the way I do have my switch panel set up, the dual mode is going to have to be with my headlights as well, but you guys should still be able to see it. But as you guys can tell, it looks pretty good from here. That's fog lights only. That's with my headlights, and right now I'm going to turn on the dual mode on the fog lights. So as you can tell, it's a pretty far beam and it looks pretty good right now. So let's go ahead and hop out the truck and show you guys from the front. Right now we're outside the truck. We just wanted to show you really quick how it looks. So this is fog light mode only. Let me go ahead and turn my headlights on and then I'll do the dual mode. So that's fog light and my headlights. So let me go ahead and turn on the dual mode, and that's dual mode right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around and show you guys directly to the fog lights so you guys can see kind of what I mean. Right now it's just the fog lights themselves. That's what's on right now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn on the dual mode. So let me do that so you guys can see what happens. So as you can tell, it turns on that bottom little lamp that's at the bottom, and then all three are on, and that would be technically like your off-road mode. I'm going to turn it off once again, and then I'm going to turn it back on. So now that you guys know kind of what I mean by dual mode, so when you have it off, that's just kind of like the legal way. When you guys are on road, you guys can turn that on, and then when you guys are off road, you can go ahead and turn on that extra light. The bottom one, it's kind of like a spot beam because it does reach pretty far, like a spot beam usually would, just like a straight beam light. And then just the normal fogs are like a widespread, shorter beam. That way it doesn't blind drivers, like I was explaining. As you guys can tell, we're back home now. We're right here at the garage. So what I meant by Casey doing it's literally street legal is, as you guys can tell, it has a straight through pattern. So it's literally just straight forward like that. And the reason they do that is so that way it doesn't blind oncoming drivers. Whenever you do turn on your headlights, of course, they're a little bit more up high, as you guys can tell. My headlights are a little bit crooked. I need to fix them, but as you guys can tell, there is the fog lights only. So I'm going to show you guys how it looks with the spot beam. That's kind of going to be similar as well, but it's more spread out. As you guys can see, it is a spot beam, so it's going to be more straightforward. I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera. I'm going to turn it off and then I'll turn it back on. So as you guys can tell, it's more of a spot beam. Fog lights are more of just a straight line down there. So if you guys do want to get them, you already know what to do. Make sure to check out the description box below. I did want to let you guys know the ones we just installed today are going to be the KC dual mode ones, and later down the video I'm going to make a comparison with the KC Flex Era 3s. They're basically the same lights. The only difference, the ones I installed today are of course street legal. The Flex Era 3s off-road version are literally just for off-road use. So I'm going to go ahead and get, of course, that set as well, and I'll show you guys kind of the difference and once I get my hands on them, and that way you guys can kind of make up your mind as well. But like I said, that's going to be down the road, so keep that in mind. So if you guys did like today's video, you guys already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys do want to buy these KC lights, they'll be in the description box below.
JesseRizo is here for you. It's here for you, Like I said, it's super simple. Please feel free to subscribe.